The black-eyed pea is a tradition that goes from slavery in the South. It's a southern bee. It's a southern pea. It's a southern pea that is grown in the South, and it's a southern tradition for fortune. But back then, in the days of slavery and the emancipation of slaves, sometimes they were left an extra amount of black-eyed peas to get through the winter when the winter was really harsh. Also, what people don't realize is collard greens went with the black-eyed peas, and the collard greens represented the money, which was the fortune. The black-eyed peas, also known as mud in your eye pea, was used by the slaves at the time to symbolize their emancipation and also to symbolize fortune and health. So that's kind of how the myth came about, or the superstition, or whatever you want to call it. And black-eyed peas is actually common, or it's commonly grown in the South. So it's a southern legume, or legume, or something like that. Is it called legume or something? I don't know how to pronounce it. But if you know how to pronounce it, leave a comment. That's what the whole black-eyed pea comes from. There's also a band called Black-Eyed Pea.
Yeah, seen that one in a while. Alright, we gotta try to find the box.
Hey Roku, find remote.
starts with good conversations. Music, strictly the classics. Dress code, fabulous. Best enjoyed in peace and quiet. This is my neighbor's moment, and I make it remarkable.
What's up? Chopper Kitty, how are you?
I did a little bit of research on Taco Bell. And Taco Bell, when you're in the dining area, or let's say you dine in, they will not give you a receipt. You can ask for one, and some places will give you a receipt. But in most cases, if you use the kiosk, you're going to have the receipt text to you or emailed. Now, I have not tried to just give them cash at the counter. I think they will give you a receipt in that case. But if you go up to the kiosk, it's going to say text, email, okay? Or it's going to say, it's going to say text, or it's going to say email for receipt, okay? The reason I'm mentioning this is because on the Taco Bell app, you can scan in a receipt and get points for the amount of money that you spend. When I went to Taco Bell the other day, I went to the kiosk and I ordered a Taco Bell. I think it was like $5 worth of Taco Bell, a couple burritos and another soft taco or whatever. And it said you can, from the kiosk, because I paid with Apple on the kiosk through the phone. And it said that they'll text the receipt to you, or they'll email the receipt, or the third option is no receipt. So I had my app up, and I noticed that I can gain points by scanning my receipt, a little barcode or whatever, on the receipt, and I'll gain points on it. So I went to the clerk or the Taco Bell attendant, and I said, can I have a receipt? And she said, well, how did you put in the receipt thing? And I said, well, I had it emailed me, the receipt, and I was looking through my email for the receipt. I was like, so she just slapped down a receipt on the counter, and I just picked it up and scanned it, and my points went up like astronomically. And I looked at the receipt, and it was someone else's receipt. So on the drive-through, you can get a drive-through receipt. Now, I don't know how you would get it, but you can take these drive-through receipts and scan them into the Taco Bell app. It doesn't matter if it's yours or not. It'll increase your points. So I don't know if Taco Bell's doing that, so other people can say, well, can I have your receipt so I can scan it in? That I don't know. Now, here's another thing that I do know. If you do use your email for the receipt, it will go on to your points if you join the rewards program through the Taco Bell app. So all you have to do is put in your email and you'll get the points, and somewhere in there they'll give you a receipt. I'm still looking for my receipt through the email. Haven't received it. So it's kind of weird. We went to a Taco Bell the other day, and there was a lady kind of sitting down with her phone number, or putting her phone number in the app or something, and she was looking, I guess, for a receipt or something. But here's the ways to get your receipt if you're going to Taco Bell. If you go through the drive-thru, they'll have to give you a receipt. If you pay at the counter with cash or with card, I'm assuming that they would give you a receipt. But if you pay through the kiosk, then there's a good chance you're not going to get a receipt. But the rewards points will go to your app. And I don't know if it shows the receipt in your app, which I'm thinking it might. I don't know. I have to do more research on it, but it's interesting. The reason why I do these things is because in my line of work, I deal with receipts every day. And I'm conscious of where the receipts are coming from, or how you would get a hold of the receipts. And in many cases, you can have receipts emailed to you. The only problem is that if you have your receipt emailed to you and you don't receive that email, then you don't have a receipt. There's no trace of the purchase. There's no paper trail of the purchase. It's a cool train over there. See if I can get it this way. So we got 2 bottles of Stella Rosa, got the game cigarillas and Newport.
So as you can see, I got to chase down that receipt and make
make sure those cigarettes get to your doorstep and the Stella Rosa. I got myself a little treat, little macadamia cookie for $1.29. Got about 207 miles on gas, and we're at 166,284 on the mileage, 74 degrees, New Year's Eve, 2022. Which is also January 31st. All right, so if I'm listening to this, I'm gonna try to do some split screen right here. So you're seeing this as I just went through there. I think I wanted to stay on this for about 45 seconds. So the whole shot would be about 90 seconds total, and split screening between the two. So you're seeing a split screen right here. If I'm actually editing. If I laid it out, then you're not seeing the split screen. It means I didn't have time to hyper edit, is what I would say, as opposed to edit. I edit when I lay it out. I always edit, but it's not like hyper editing or advanced editing kind of thing. All right, so about a minute there, so that'll be part of the split screen, and then I'll switch to split screen right here, and you'll see this, which would be different. So you're looking at two different things. They bring the toboggan in a little bit better. Right here, so you see the toboggan. So then you're getting two different images. So this would go on for at least, I think at 80 seconds. We're going to 90 seconds right here, and I'm making a turn, so there's action. And you can see this. And that should be good right there. This could also could probably be a split screen here. You can see the railroad road right here. And the railroad crossing right there. Right there, maybe. Probably could see some of that. That's the first one. I'm assuming they're probably doing like a New Year's Eve Circle K special. Anyway, that'll be going on. I figured that would probably be going on all day today, picking up booze and dropping it off. I really don't drink at all. Like sometimes, you know, in a blue moon, like for example, like New Year's Eve, I might like have like a half a glass of wine or something, just to kind of remember the taste and stuff. But I just, you know, it's like I just stop craving any type of alcohol beverages. I just don't really crave it at all, you know. It's just not in my nature. It's just kind of not in my character. Now, I did have a smoking problem. I smoked Camel Silvers and American Spirits for about 6 years, but I got tired of listening to the congestion. You know, when you smoke and you're like coughing. I got tired of that aspect of it, and I found a way to quit. It's definitely going on down there. Motorcycle gang looks like big time stoppage of traffic right here. Don't know if they all stopped to talk or some kind of meeting or something. I don't know. There's some people over here kind of looking. I don't know what in the world this. I have no idea. Doesn't look like an accident though. Oh crap. Boy, it's distracting though. Big time distraction. Okay, cool. Brian Irwin's went this way. I didn't know you could even go this way. Oh, it's 183. Okay, I see. It's a different way. Okay, yeah, I see. Okay. Oh, yeah, I just went this way. Okay. So, it's like, I got confused on where I was. It's like some kind of motorcycle event or something going on the side of the road there. I guess there may be a meeting up there and going to another area. Or taking a break or something. I don't know what it was. But it's a big time gathering right there. Well, we got one from Whataburger about 8.8 miles away from this, here recording this right now. On December 31, 2022. 74 degrees Fahrenheit. About 3:54 in the PM. We're going to be going to Whataburger, picking that Whataburger up and dropping it off at your doorstep. Now, the thing about Whataburger is it's created by a guy named Harmon Dobson, who wanted his life achievement was to create a burger that fit in 2 hands. And he succeeded with Whataburger, which a lot of people in the South call Whataburger. Well, it's some of them right there. So looks like what's happening back there is, I'm assuming the motorcycles were probably speeding like they usually do. And there were 2 or 3 pedestrians that were parked. Well, they weren't pedestrians, they were drivers. They were parked on the car, kind of like that car. And there was probably, I don't know, 50 motorcyclists all parked alongside this, the shoulder of the road, right by 183, not too far from Hewlin and University or Bryant Irving. So it looks like, probably, I'm thinking the motorcycle was probably speeding, clipped one of the cars. Either they got hurt. Ambulance was dispatched just a while ago right over that way. So the ambulance is probably on the way to that scene. But what's going to happen is when Piggy shows up, he's going to interview probably 3 or 4 of the cars that were involved in the motorcycle either clipping the other car. Whether it damaged the car, I couldn't tell. I don't think it did. But it could have hurt the motorcyclist. And so all 20 or 30 or 40, like maybe at least 20 or 30 motorcyclists pulled over to the side, of whether they were a motorcycle gang or they were a legit gang or an illegit gang or whatever, Constitution says you have the right to form a militia, so we could argue the Crips and Bloods are, a gang militia, but of course they have problems in business, I don't think it was that kind of gang. It was probably just a standard motorcycle gang, but they all pulled over probably to help their fallen comrade. So the Piggy's probably going to interview all the cars, and they're going to say, well, he ran into the side of her, the side of the car. And that's like 4 or 5 witnesses. Then you got all 20 of the motorcyclists saying, well, the guy was making a wrong lane change, that kind of thing. So that'll go on for probably about an hour. Whether the motorcyclist was seriously hurt, probably he might have been. These motorcyclists are a little crazy, though. I mean, they haul, but I'm going 55 right here, or 54. Well, let's go on 55. So yeah, 55. They sometimes go by you like 120 miles per hour. They don't have time to always. And I talked to a motorcyclist that I used to work with when I used to do Auto Trader. I drop off Auto Trader, which is an automobile magazine for trading automobiles. And we worked for Manpower, and he was a motorcyclist, and he got clipped by an old lady. He was going about 100, maybe 110 or so. She didn't see him, and she ran him off the road. He was wearing all leather. He said he skid for about 100 yards or more, tumbling and skidding. No major injury. So you could fall off your motorcycle going like 100. Now, a lot of times it'll kill you. I'm not saying it's safe. A lot of times it will kill you. But he said he just relaxed and just slid it all out and survived it. He didn't run into any other vehicles, and no vehicles hit him. He ended up sliding off the side of the road. This happened probably like 1995, or no, his accident probably happened 1990 or 93 or something like that. Don't know the year it happened. He would talk about it all the time. It was when he first got his little Ninja motorcycle and was going really quick. But he slid like more than 100 yards, or probably like 200 or 300 yards. He slid quite a bit of ways because he was going over 100 miles per hour. And some old lady just, didn't turn on her blinker or turned it on too late or something. Don't know the situation, but he said that he was clipped by her right on the highway. It's dangerous. I mean, a lot of them will just fly right by you. I mean, like 4 or 5 of them in a row. You don't even see it coming. What's really, really dangerous, though, is when a vehicle does it, because a motorcycle is just going to fall over and they're just going to go flying, Now, I have been hit by a motorcyclist in Calabasas, California, and he was going over the speed limit. We were in the mountains of the Calabasas, or in the high areas, or hills. I say the hills, Calabasas hills. And I was right by an Exxon, and I was going to get a Red Bull. I remember it like yesterday. And the lights in California are a little bit like how they are now. But what they do is they have a green light. They have one over there that's similar to that over there by Waterside, if you know where the Waterside area is in Fort Worth. But they'll have like a green light, and then they'll have a red arrow light. And if you're looking straight ahead like this, and you see that turn green, but you don't see the red arrow, sometimes you'll turn into what's called oncoming traffic. Now, in my case, there were no cars. So it turned green like this, but this would have stayed red. It doesn't here. In Texas, a lot of times the lights will all be green in that area. But what happened was he was coming the other direction, and I was turning on a red arrow under a green light. And when I turned like this, the motorcycle was speeding, and boom, he hit me like right here and went flying way over him and some lady. She broke her ankle. Some lady broke her ankle. I stayed there, and and then when I talked to the authority figures, they just said that happens all the time. As long as you stay there, and no ticket was issued or anything. But you have to stay on the scene. So I figured that was it for me. But it turned out, their light system sucks, But California has a they have a really weird left arrow issue. So that it's something to do with turning left at street lights. That's very difficult to do in California. It's a different type of system they have, because you're always kind of turning into like oncoming traffic, or incoming traffic is what oncoming is what they say, oncoming traffic. It's really weird. It's getting that way a little bit in Texas because it's getting more congested. Fort Worth is growing, and same with Austin. Austin's one of the fastest growing cities. But they do that so you're not stuck at lights as much. It was a weird little accident. But I figured I'd killed him. But the guy was wearing leather. He had a leather suit on. So he tumbled out of it, no injuries. And his lady on the back, who was also wearing leather, she actually broke her ankle. So it's pretty serious. But that was when I was about 27. I always felt bad about that. About that little incident. But you got to be careful, though. He was speeding, though. The motorcyclist, that used to be a do-it-yourself punk rock venue right there. But he was speeding, though. He wasn't going 45. He was going about like 50 or something when he hit me. It dented in this. He could have killed me. It dented in this door right here. Smashed that window out. Glass went flying everywhere. When it happened in slow motion. Like everything slowed down. It was the only time in my life where slow motion happened. All the glass, I could see every particulate of glass flying all over the windows, all over the car, all this glass flying. It was crazy. Everything slowed down. I thought a rocket had hit my car. That was the only thing. I thought literally a missile had flown from the sky and just hit my car. It was very loud. I was watching a tank movie last night called T-34, something like that. I'll have to look up the title. It's a Russian tank movie about the Russians and the Nazis. But whenever they get hit by one of those little tank projectile things, the tank bullet, whatever you want to call it, it goes in. It's like almost like a missile. It goes into the tank and deafens everybody inside the tank. That's what it deafened. It was like I couldn't hear from it. It was like a ringing sound in my ear. That was very, very, very crazy. And it happened so quick. And then when I got out of the car, I pulled the car over.
Railroad crossing.
Because you don't know what in the world's going on until about maybe 3 or 4 seconds afterwards. You realize that must have been a car. Didn't think it was a motorcycle. And this window was bashed out. And then I had driven over on the other side of the road, put my hazards on and got out. And then I could see the motorcycle. And the guy was already on his feet walking. So it was in like a pedestrian suburban area. It wasn't on a highway. It was in a smaller area. A 2-lane. Well, it was like a 2-lane on one side, 2-lane on the other. And this probably happened in 2001 or so in Calabasas. And I mean, I was in shock. And then I got out and he was already up. And I saw the lady laying there and I thought, oh, this is it, I'm done for sure. And then he was talking to her and stuff, and I was completely in shock. So I had sit down on the curb, was sitting there waiting. Didn't know if he was going to come over and start yelling at me or whatever. I think the only thing he said is the words "head out of your ass" is what I thought. That's all I heard him say. Then he picked her up. By the time the ambulance got there, I think the ambulance was there with like in 5 minutes. And the ambulance arrived and he picked her up, and I could see that she was, you know, talking to him and stuff. But her ankle was pretty messed up, pretty bad. And then he I think he had blonde hair. He looked like probably like an actor or something like that. Anyway, he put her in the back of the ambulance, and then when the cops arrived, you know, I gave them all my information. No ticket was issued. I said, well, you know, I saw a green light, but I turned to the left. So it must have been that red arrow. I was honest with the officer. I said, it must have been the red arrow light that was red. I just didn't see it. And then he said, well, you know, be careful next time. And I said, I'm free to go? He's like, well, it's just an accident. And I kind of looked at him, and I was like, you mean I'm just free to go? He's like, yeah, it was an accident. And I was like, okay. Well, the car's still running. I guess I'll just go ahead and drive it, because the car could still function. It wasn't completely totaled. Though you couldn't open that door, but the window was busted out. But the rest of the car was fine to drive. I don't even think the blinker was. It was like, you know, other than the door being smashed in, the blinkers were still working, the lights were still working, everything. I said, no ticket or anything? He was like, no. And I said, he said, well, listen, I'll be honest, I've done it myself. And I said, what? And he said, well, I've run one of those red arrows before myself. It's just weird, you know. But, you know, what else can you do? You know, sometimes lights malfunction. You know, it could be anything, you know. Sometimes people just don't see the lights, you know. Oh, hi, how you doing?